Hey, it's Amanda, and in this video I'm going to teach you what a coffee enema is, why they're amazing, and how you actually do one. I know what you're thinking, why on earth would you put coffee up your butt? And I honestly thought the same thing. I was very freaked out. I first learned about these in my functional medicine training when they came up kind of in the curriculum, and then we do testing on ourselves, which is pretty cool. But you also get a protocol, just like you would give a client. And one of the things in my protocol was a coffee enema. And you can ask my husband, I was terrified and I didn't want to do it. But after talking to a lot of mentors that do them regularly and their clients do them and hearing about all the benefits over and over, I had to try it. And now I'm obsessed with them. And it's kind of a weird thing to say, but I really love coffee enemas. So I wanted to include them in this 10-day mind, body, liver detox so that it's a tool that you can have in your toolbox. Doesn't mean you have to do them right now, for sure, but it's just something to kind of think about down the road. Some things that they're really good for, like pain, headaches, migraines, anxiety, depression, if you have an autoimmune disease, they can be really helpful. Digestive issues, they're awesome. They can be used for a lot of different things. So some of the benefits of them I put on this board. So there's two main benefits to a coffee enema. The first one is that it boosts glutathione, and glutathione is the most abundant antioxidant in the body. It also is really important for phase 1 and phase 2 of detox. It's the only antioxidant that is required for both. So we need it for proper detox. It also helps protect us against free radicals, aging, carcinogens, all that kind of stuff. So that's one major thing. The other is that it helps to flush toxic bile out of our system. So bile is this compound in like liquid matter that is made in the liver, but it's stored in your gallbladder. So your gallbladder is what is releasing the bile during digestion, and it gets released, the bile binds to fat and it breaks it down to these tiny little pieces. It makes it so that you can absorb it and absorb different vitamins and minerals. So bile is really important. If it's not working properly, if we can't produce it, or if it's really toxic, it's not good for our digestion or for nutrient absorption. So what can happen is our bile can become stagnant, and that means that it's not moving from our gallbladder, or it's kind of being reabsorbed in our liver, and it can be reabsorbed 10 times, and that makes it super toxic before it actually gets eliminated in our poop. So we should be pooping out our bile, we should be getting it out of the body and then making room for more fresh, kind of healthy bile that's going to help us break down our food. So it's very important. I think that's probably, obviously glutathione is really important, but I think supporting that flush of toxic bile is something that not a lot of other things really do. So between those two things, what's then happening is that it's supporting detoxification, because glutathione is supporting that phase 1 and phase 2 of detox, which I talked about in an earlier video, and then getting rid of that toxic bile is helping support our digestion. And we know that it's really important to have good digestion in order to detox properly. So coffee enemas do all of that. There's a ton of benefits. That's kind of how they work. The only thing with coffee enemas is there's not a ton of research. So the only research that we have is research that's telling us how it works with our gallbladder and the bile and how it can flush that toxic bile. So what happens is that we put the coffee is in your colon, and then the blood in your body circulates through your liver at least 3 to 5 times throughout the whole time that you're holding it, which we're going to talk about. And during that, what happens is your bile ducts widen so that it can clear out any toxic bile. So we know that happens. We know that it can help with glutathione, but there aren't a lot of research studies. So that's actually something that I'm hoping to do one day, to go back to school, get my PhD, and maybe focus on coffee enemas. Wouldn't that be cool? So that's kind of the background of coffee enema, how it works in your body. It's getting absorbed into your liver, it's going through along with the blood, and then it's dilating your bile duct so that you can get rid of that toxic bile. And from there, some of the things that I get asked about a lot when it comes to coffee enemas, one of the big things is, what if I'm sensitive to caffeine and like caffeinated coffee? Like, is it gonna make me really hyper or get jittery? And it doesn't impact you the same way when you are putting it up your butt I have like no other way to say that, as you are when you're taking it orally. So when you're taking it orally, it can impact your hormones, it spikes your cortisol. It can be problematic if taken in excess, but when we're taking it through an enema, it has a totally different effect on the body. So I find that people, even if they are sensitive to caffeine, they do really well with coffee enemas. You probably want to start with it earlier in the day, because then you do get energy from it. So that way, if you do it earlier in the day, you can kind of use that energy as the day goes on. I wouldn't do it too close to bed, although I do have some clients that like doing them at night when they get home from work. So I think it's important to experiment, find what works for you, but know that even if you don't drink coffee, it doesn't affect you the same way coffee does. And so what do you need to do a coffee enema? There are a few things. We need, specifically the most important is an enema bucket. So this is a stainless steel bucket, and I've linked to this in the resource for this video. And what you need for this is the bucket. I say stainless steel because you can get the silicone pouches that you hang. I just prefer the bucket because it's easier to clean, and that's really important when doing enemas, and it lasts a really long time. Like, I've only ever had this one bucket. It cleans really well. It's totally fine. And we don't want plastic or anything, because think about putting hot coffee in plastic is just it's not a good mix. So the enema bucket, and then you need an enema tube, but this is like food grade silicone. And this just connects to the bucket, and I'll show you how to do all that. And you need the little, I don't even want to say, my husband calls it a butt whistle. It is just the knob that attaches to the end, and this is actually what goes up your butt. And then you definitely need this little clip here. This comes with the tube, and it's what cuts off the coffee from flowing. So this is important to have, especially the first few times you do it. That's kind of the basic equipment. And then I always say you want to either use coconut oil or a non-toxic lubricant that you're going to put on the little tube at the end there to actually get it into your butt, because we don't want it to hurt. It's not supposed to. And the last couple of things are a high quality coffee. You definitely want to do organic. I like bulletproof. If you do research on coffee enemas, you're going to find that people recommend a light roast coffee. This is a medium roast. I don't care, because I want to make sure that the coffee is tested for mold and bacteria and that there's no pesticides, and Bulletproof is the best brand for that. So I use Bulletproof coffee, the medium roast. And then last but not least is how you're actually going to cook it. So you can make it in your coffee maker as long as your coffee maker isn't plastic. I would say we don't want to heat up plastic and then be putting that into our bodies. Just not the best thing. So we actually got rid of our plastic coffee maker, and we use this percolator. It's stainless steel, super easy. So I'm going to show you how we make it in here. But if you have like a glass one or a stainless steel one, that's totally fine too. But that's what you need. You can also use a thermometer. I don't use one because it's really just body temperature that you want the water. So you're gonna know when you stick your finger in. It's supposed to be 98 degrees. It's the temperature of your body. But yeah, that's what you need to get started. All the links are in the resource, and now I'm gonna show you how to actually do it. All right, so we've got our percolator. If you don't have a percolator, you can just use a big pot. So I used to just use this big stainless steel pot that I had, and this is gonna make 2 servings. I wouldn't make more than like 3 servings at a time, because you don't want it to sit in your fridge. You want it to be pretty fresh. So I think 2 servings is great, because then you have one that's easy to heat up for next time. So to start, whether you're using a big pot or a percolator, this is filled with about 10 cups of water, 9 to 10 cups, and you're gonna wanna do 4 cups for 1 serving of a coffee enema. So I filled this up, and it comes with, I'll link this too, it comes with this little thing to hold the coffee. And as far as the amounts, so you're gonna wanna probably start with 1 tablespoon per 2 cups. So 2 tablespoons per serving to start. You can increase down the road if you want. I still do about 2 to 3 tablespoons per serving. I don't do more than that. You can start with 1 for sure. If you're nervous that you're gonna be jittery from it, it's totally up to you. So I'm just gonna add this. And if you're using a percolator, you're gonna put the coffee in, and then once it starts to actually percolate, you only wait 6-7 minutes, and then it's done. If you are using a pot, then you want to boil the water first, and then when it's boiling, you're gonna add your coffee, and then you're gonna set your timer for 3 minutes, and then you're gonna turn it on low once it's done and let it sit for 15, and don't worry, these instructions aren't in the handout. And if you're lucky and you have a stainless steel coffee maker, then you can just use that. So our coffee is ready. I'm gonna put it on high to start in this percolator, and then once it starts percolating, I'm gonna reduce it to 5, like about medium heat. While that is going, I'm gonna show you how to get this set up. So all you're gonna do is take your tube, I can get this undone, and you're gonna put one end onto the tube in the stainless steel bucket, and then you're gonna put this clip on the other end. And so you want to think like, okay, if this clip were going to be on here, I want this to be like upright so I can easily press it. So it's going to go on upside down, because I put it on the wrong way quite a few times and it's annoying. So you're just going to weave this through, put it about a little over a foot down because you want to be able to reach it when the enema's in your butt. And then you're just going to clip it, make sure you clip it, because once the coffee is done, you're going to pour the coffee in here, and you don't want it to come out of the tube. So the last thing I'm going to do is add my little nozzle thing at the end, butt whistle, whatever you want to call it. And now the enema bucket is ready, so you're just going to wait for your coffee to be done. When your coffee is done, obviously it has to cool, so you could put it in the freezer, or you could add filtered ice cubes to it. Just make sure they're not just regular. You always want to use filtered water. But yeah, so let's let the coffee cook, and then I will do some last minute tips for coffee. The coffee is done. It just finished percolating. Again, same thing, if you made it in the pot, then you just want to wait till it's done cooking. And since this is 2 servings, what I like to do is put one in this 24-ounce mason jar, and then I pour the rest into my stainless steel bucket. It's very full, so hopefully I don't spill it. So this is 1 serving. I'm going to let it cool, and then I'm going to cover it and put it in the fridge. And for this other serving, like say I wanted to do this enema right now, then I'm going to pour all this in here. Make sure that your thing is clipped, because you don't want it to go spilling out. And then from here, I can cool it down quickly with some filtered ice cubes, or I could stick the whole thing in the freezer. Or you could put one of these, you could pour it in this jar first and then put that in the freezer. It's up to you. What I usually do is put ice cubes in, because this is going to be about 3-4 cups of water. That's totally fine. It should be 4 cups that you're using for your enema. And then I would just put filtered ice cubes. I'd let it cool down. If you have a thermometer, then you want it to be about 98 degrees, just like the band. That's all I think of when I say that. So it's supposed to be body temperature 98.6 degrees, around there. It's when you put your finger in, it's just going to feel warm. Obviously it's steaming, so it's super hot. Would not do it like this. You don't want it to be too hot or too cold. You want it to be body temperature. So that's really how that's going to be. And then one other thing I wanted to talk about with enemas that's important. So if you're going to do it with this program, I'm going to go through the supplements in a different video, but those supplements specifically use a binder. And that binder helps bind to toxins that are released during an enema and get them out of the body. And if you're doing the enema outside of the detox, which is totally fine, I expect you to use this as a tool later down the road, you're going to need a binder of your own. And so you can either ask me to get you more ultra binder, which I have no issue doing, or you could use something like chlorophyll, like a liquid chlorophyll. This is, I got on Amazon. You can find them at a lot of health food stores. Just make sure you look at the ingredients and that it's just liquid chlorophyll. This one is chlorophyllin, and that's really it. That's the only ingredient. And you want to do, 1 serving is 2 tablespoons. So I would do 1 tablespoon before the enema and then 1 tablespoon after. If you are doing the detox program, you don't have to worry about it because we're doing 2 servings of a binder each day, so that covers you. You could also use activated charcoal. I would do the little capsules and just follow the serving size and do half before and half after. And this way we're binding to those toxins and getting them out of the body. So that's really it. One thing that I do want to note, I'm not actually going to show you physically how to do it, but some tips for doing the enema is what you're going to do is you're going to put it over a sink when it's cooled down, and you're going to release the clip, and you're going to let coffee come out, just start to come out of the nodule, and then you're going to clip it. So I can show you. I usually do this in the bathroom, but all you're going to do is you're going to put this up a little bit higher, put this in the sink, release the clip. You want it to come out just a little bit, and then you're going to clip it. The goal is that you want this to be completely solid, and the reason for that is because then there's going to be no air bubbles when you're putting it inside you, because the air bubbles are not fun. So that's really how to get started. And then you would put your either coconut oil, or you're going to put your non-toxic lubricant, like that Sustain brand that I mentioned. That's a great one. Whatever works for you, something to make this so that it slips right in. It should not be painful. That's a big no-no. So from there, you're going to set up a towel. You can do this in your bathroom on the bathroom floor if you want. I did it in the bathroom the first few times just because I wanted to be right next to the toilet in case something weird happened. Now I do it in my office because it's like secluded from everyone and I can relax. You're going to put a towel down, maybe a couple towels so it's comfortable. You're going to lay on your right side and be kind of in just like a baby like side pose where you're laying, and then you're going to relax, take some deep breaths. You're going to have the lubed up and nodule right here, and you're going to slowly put that in your butt, and it should not be painful. If it's lubed up, it's very small, it should go in pretty easily. And then you're going to slowly release the little clip here. At first I just did little by little because I was too scared to like have that feeling of a bunch of stuff going up there, because I'd never done an enema or gotten a colonic or anything like that. So I was very much so a newbie, and so I just released it little by little. It worked really well for me, and then eventually, like now, I just unclip it and it's fine. And so that's kind of, you're laying on your side. Your knees are going to be kind of close to your chest. They don't have to be like all the way up to your chest. Just kind of comfortably on your side. You're going to slowly insert the nodule up your butt. You're going to release the clip little by little. This bucket, it has to be up higher than you are. So most people say like 2 feet, like around 2, no more than 3 feet high. So I have a little stand in my office. You could close the toilet seat, put it on your toilet. If your sink isn't super high, you can put it on the sink or the laundry basket if it's stable. A lot of people do it on the toilet. They close the lid, they put the bucket up there, and then they lay down on the ground in front of it. Some people lay in their bathtubs, whatever works for you. If your bathtub is big enough, that's cool. So that's really how you do it, and then you want to let it sit in there for 12 to 15 minutes. If you cannot do it that long the first time, that is totally okay. When you start to get nervous and feel like you can't hold it, taking deep breaths is really, really helpful. So that's really it. Once it's in there, you're going to clip it, and then you're going to remove the nodule, and then you're just going to lay there and you can read. I say make it your time for yourself. I read, I journal. Sometimes I pick like tarot cards or whatever, but I make sure that I'm not on my phone or my computer and I'm really relaxing. It should be your you time. So that's kind of the basics of how to do a coffee enema. Make sure it's not too hot or too cold. Find a relaxing space, put a towel down, don't put the bucket up too high. Make sure there's something on here so that it goes in easily, it shouldn't be painful. And try to hold for 12 to 15 minutes. Obviously you can have your phone nearby so that you know how long it's been in, or you could set a timer somewhere, whatever works for you. But that's it, that's how you do coffee enema. I recommend starting doing like a couple a week and then seeing how you feel, adjust the time of day. And of course, do not hesitate to reach out to me if you have questions. You can always email amandamontalvord@gmail.com.